Coming up on Inside 50 this week, we talk to a few of the boys about their first win in a derby. We have a look at the next 25 in 25, and we preview our clash with the Doggies on Sunday.
Hello and welcome to Inside 50. We're back for another week. Reece Anderton, look at this.
Mate, it's magnificent, isn't it? We touched on it last week. April 2007 was the last time we won a derby, so it's been a great week around the club.
It is one of the heaviest trophies going around. My puny little girl arms cannot even lift it, so we had to get you to bring it in.
It's a monster.
Yeah, it is brilliant. What was the stat again? 15 of 22?
That is correct. 15 of our 22 players that played on the weekend experienced their first derby win, so
phenomenal.
Great vibe around the club.
We've got a big show. Let's get straight into it. Of course, we had the two late withdrawals for the weekend's game. We had Daniel Kerr pull out and Andrew Embley with some hamstring. Daniel Kerr with an adductor injury. He actually appeared on Channel 7 News to give this explanation as to the reasons why he pulled out.
I had similar symptoms in my hamstring before I did my hamstring, so I was a little bit gun shy to play with soreness. So I was happy that John pulled me out.
Now, round 9 is, of course, Indigenous round the AFL this week. Plenty happening pre-game with past West Coast Eagles Indigenous players on field. BHP Billiton's the match day sponsor, so get down early.
And that's why this week's episode of Eagle Vision is centred around Indigenous round. We've got Jarek Whedon, a little close-up with him. Chris Lewis, past great, coming down for an interview. Also a bit of a table tennis comp at the club. Nothing to do with Indigenous round, but a bit of fun. It's on at 11 a.m. this week also.
Channel 7, don't miss out.
Now, we could have got the video camera around to 15 blokes that won their first derby, but sadly, just not enough time. Here's what 3 blokes had to say about their very first derby victory.
So it'll be a 33-point win here for the West Coast Eagles today, and their fans stand and applaud. Derby number 33 in the bag for the West Coast Eagles.
Alright, so it was my first derby win on the weekend. It was a great feeling. Everyone before the game was really pumped up and felt good, and then after the game, obviously, we had the celebration, and finally getting to hold that cup for the first time was a great feeling. All the boys enjoyed it, and we had a great day.
Yeah, so first derby win, pretty exciting. Obviously played in a few losing ones, about 4 of them. And it was just great to get over the top of the hometown rivals and get the 4 points.
Great to finally win a derby. First time I played them 7 times, and the first time to get one on the board against them. So I think the ball's slowly rolling against them now. Great way to celebrate with a truckload of Powerade poured over me too. So it was good.
Most memorable moment was probably start of the last quarter, running just near the 50-metre arc, tripping over, falling over when I was just about to receive the footy. Luckily for me, the ball bounced near me and I was able to recover and get it to a teammate. But yeah, a few of the boys are giving me a bit of stick about that one for sure.
Now, last year when Laker kicked 12 goals against the Bombers, it was a phenomenal feat, but there was one bloke for the West Coast Eagles who got a bit higher than that. Scott Cummings' 14 goals back in 2000 was absolutely superb. One of the funniest blokes, hands down, you'll meet or have an interview with.
Mate, got a good stat about him as well.
Go on.
Know you love your stats. He's the only Coleman medalist not to be named in the All-Australian team.
Disgrace. I'm going to write a letter this afternoon.
Exactly.
Have a look at this interview for our next 25 and 25.
Ripper.
Philip Matera's got it. Cummings is free in front.
Oh! Call it into history, Den.
Yes, to match his number, Barra. Scott Cummings going at number 14. The best ever by an Eagle.
Look, I don't really remember it that well. But look, the first one was at the 3.5-minute mark of the first quarter. It was a strong grab to keep a goal. And then the second one was at the 6-minute mark, I think. Another goal, 7-minute mark. It's really vague. 7-minute mark, I think, was the third really strong hands and a goal.
Well, Scotty kicked all those goals. I mean, it sort of lent itself to a unique situation because we couldn't get in the change room because his guts and his head was that big. We couldn't shower, so we basically had to wait until Scott Cummings had finished in the change. We had to actually wait outside, so it meant just a different sort of warm down. So we had to do our warm down on the outside of the room. So we had a good opportunity to sign autographs and stuff like that, where the big head and the big gutted thing was inside, just wallowing in his own glory.
Well, it was a good night of footy. Really enjoyed it. Boys were just lacing me out everywhere. Kempy hitting me and Roo hitting me, and Cuzzy just laced a couple, worm burners at me. It was just a good night, and to do it against Adelaide, I mean, who really likes Adelaide? No one, to be perfectly honest. So
he kicked them from everywhere, and he's a lovable larrikin, Scotty. He was terrific for our club at that time. We needed a real personality, and he was that. let me tell you, that night was just unbelievable, and he showed what a class player he was.
Phil Matera, I'm not sure if you guys remember Phil Matera, little bloke, really annoying, just a pest. Took probably 3 off me in the last quarter, kept going for goal. Could have just done a little Joe the Goose over the top for 13. No, go for goal, Phil, go for goal, and miss. So I mean, they're the sad things, you know. I like to be a positive person, but Friday really would have damped me on that one. I think I only got that 13th because he's, you know, stuffed to kick up, which went across the face, which I had to run. I had to run, so that pissed me off, and mark it there. So it was just basically got 13 and 14 by fixing up Phil's mistakes. Well, the important thing is, when you have a good game like that, is you go out and you back it up, and Judgy was big on that, and he said, Scotty, make sure, you know, 14's good, but we've got a game to play against Geelong next week, and so all my focus went into that, and I was really, really keen to play well and to come away from Cardinia Park with 1 goal. One wasn't probably what I was after, but it was... No, and I got in trouble for that too. It didn't go down very well.
He's a good fella, and as I said, he got on a purple patch there for a while, and he was unstoppable, and I think he has the goal-kicking record for West Coast, which, mind you, Scotty, I reckon I gave you 4 that night too, and I've never got a thank you for it either.
Week after that, we played the Dockers here at Subi Oval, and yeah, we had a good day, and managed to just squeeze a bag of 10 out of Fido, who was just trying to take them off me again. To kick 10 in a derby, it was really exciting. I enjoyed it because I put them in Adelaide's category. Who really likes Fremantle? I can't like them. You don't like them. And it was good to play on. You know, those blokes are down the road and smack them, and we smacked them that night, and that was fun. So yeah, no, it was good. Consistent footy though, really consistent. That's what I pride myself on. 14, 1, 10. It was really consistent. I don't think I played another game after that for the year. So. Yeah, no, it was awesome.
All right, let's jump into it now. Let's have a look at the teams. West Coast versus the Western Bulldogs. It's 2:40 at Patterson Stadium on Sunday. The ins for West Coast are Daniel Kerr and Andrew Emberley. Obviously the late withdrawals from last week. And Andrew Strike's been named to make his first appearance of the season.
Good word from Stritchy. It will be a massive test for the boys. Bulldogs do have some good ins for this week.
Yeah, the ins are Higgins, Hall, and obviously Williams, the centre half back. Big out though, 2008 Brownlow medalist Adam Cooney out with a knee.
It is big for them. Let's hope we get on the top of that midfield run then. Just want to touch on some players from last week, as we always do, and hope they're going to have another big one this week. Matthew Prittis, first winner of the Ross Glendinning medal since Michael Braun and that slip of the tongue speech.
Yes.
He actually had 27 touches, 5 marks, 5 tackles.
Now, those 27 touches, only 2 came in the first quarter, so 25 from quarter time on. Very impressive.
Had maximum votes in the voting, had 9 of the possible 9. Have a look at these AFL rankings.
Number 1 in the league in handballs and contested possessions.
Unbelievable. Moving right along, Nick Nananui, I mean, we do mention him most weeks, but he's playing some great footy. He had 12 touches, 20 hit-outs, was actually equalled his most against Aaron Sandilands with 20, which is a good effort.
And that's that goal he kicked in the fourth quarter there, I reckon that was the sealer. That was the one where I'll relax a bit.
That was a good goal.
Yeah.
He actually had 10 tackles for a ruckman, unbelievable. Managed to ask him about that post-game, and here's what he had to say.
Yeah, well, I wasn't touching the footy, so I had to grab the man. So, yeah, I was happy to have the 10, and, I did my bit for the team, so I was happy.
Matty Rosick, drawing close to his 100th game for the club, had an awesome display on the weekend against the Dockers, had 24 touches and 9 marks, actually averaging 23 touches in 2011, which is his highest ever average. He's looking good.
I know, but he's probably, and I guess the talk around the town is it's the way he's using it. It's a lot more efficient, definitely taking that next step.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing more of Matty Rosa out there. Quinton Lynch had 22 touches, 9 marks, just a workhorse for a 171 game player.
You could say he's the linchpin of the forward line.
You could say that, but I've heard jokes like that from you before, and we've got crickets. Just before we go, I want to mention this stat for courtesy of Footy Classified. Great pressure we're putting on with this zone, and with our clearances, obviously. Have a look at this. We are averaging 42.9 inside 50s against us, which is the best in the competition.
League average, 52.9.
Absolutely, absolutely unbelievable. Sitting pretty there. Credit to the coaching staff and their strategic plans.
Mark improvement across the whole ground. Great stuff, guys.
That brings us to the end of the episode.
Correct. Before we go, I've got to mention Justin Longmuir won his 8th Western Derby.
Fair streak. Well done, Longy.
Well done, mate. Thanks for coming inside 50.